Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on your time zone. Welcome to AALHE's webinar series. I'm Catherine Welberg, past president of AALHE, and I'm so very happy that you're here with us today. And before we get started with the webinar, I wanted to share a few pieces of information with you. We are recording the webinar, and the recording will be available on the AALHE website after this webinar is finished. Also, because of the number of participants, you are all muted, and so we're not going to be doing any live questions. But if you do have a question, there is a Q&A box, which should be on the bottom part of your, or the right-hand side of your screen. And so you can type any questions in there, and we'll be able to see those, and we can ask. I'll be able to ask questions for you, and our presenter will also be able to see them. And when there's that opportunity to answer some of those questions, we'll make sure to get to that. After the webinar is completed, each of you will get an email from me that will have the PowerPoint slides, a handout that Andre has developed, and a link to an evaluation. And I would ask you to please take a few minutes to fill out this brief evaluation. We do use these results to improve and provide better webinars for our entire community. So now let's begin. It is absolutely my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter. Andre Foisy is a board member for AALHE, and he is the Executive Director of Institutional Outcomes Assessment at Excelsior College. He's taught and worked in higher education assessment for more than a decade. And prior to his role at Excelsior College, he served as the Assistant Director of Assessment and Evaluation at Virginia Tech and the Director of Evaluation and Assessment at Columbia College Chicago. He holds a master's degree in the social sciences from the University of Chicago, and he regularly presents and consults on student learning outcomes assessment. And I will also add that Andre has been incredibly helpful to many of us and getting us to dive into this world of social media and Twitter, and really helped us to think about this as a real opportunity. So Andre, thank you so very much for being here with us today.
Oh, I'm very happy to be here. And I would like to start the poll now, if that would be possible. So we have some poll questions to start out, and they've popped up for me. So the first one, by default, everything you share on Twitter is publicly viewable. Is that a true or a false statement?
Okay, it looks like responses are coming in.
Cool, okay, coming in. And one thing I'd also like to point out right now is just if you have any other questions, you can also tweet those and use the hashtag AALHE webinar, and I'll get to those. But if you don't know what a hashtag is or how to tweet, I'll go over that a little bit in a few minutes. All right, so the first one, 77% of our respondents said that true. Everything you share on Twitter by default is publicly viewable, and 27% of the people said it false. So the correct answer there is true. So everything you share on Twitter is publicly viewable by default. But if you change your settings from public to private, then you can make it just so that your tweets are viewable only to your followers. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Could we post the next question now? So which of the following can you do on Twitter? So can you share photos and links, post tweets, follow other Twitter users, send private messages? How many of those things? And this will be helpful for me as I go over some of the features of Twitter in a few minutes.
And Andre, I just have to say that I never even thought about tweeting questions during a webinar on Twitter, so that is brilliant.
Thanks. And the answer is coming in. All right, so the correct answer is that you can do all of those things on Twitter. So if you only selected a few of those questions, you could have selected all of those options. And then we just have a few more questions. Third question, it's an easy one. Which of the following symbols is used as a hashtag on Twitter? And if you don't know what a hashtag is, I'll cover that as well. Great, so almost everyone got that correct. And the hashtag is the number symbol. And if you want to sound really smart at a party, you can call it an octothorpe.
You may have to spell that for us there, because that is a new term.
I don't know if I can spell that. And Twitter is best for sharing which type of content? Is it best for sharing blog articles, long videos, short text posts, live video streams? I probably could have included long rambling emails. Whoops, I tried to answer a question. Oh. All right, could we see the answers for this? Great, almost everyone got this correct. So I'm assuming we have some people who've used Twitter before. And then we have one more question at the end. This is a very important one for our assessment colleagues. So what is the official hashtag for the AALHE conference in 2018? Is it hashtag AALHE Conf or CONF, hashtag AALHE CONF 18, hashtag AALHE CONF 2018, or hashtag AALHE SLC 18? Okay, interesting. So we had most people said that the conference hashtag is AALHE CONF 2018. Actually, the official hashtag is the first option, and that's AALHE CONF. And I'll explain to you why we chose this as the official hashtag a little bit later in the presentation. So I'm going to close this poll out right now. Wanted to introduce myself as well. So I'm Andre Foisy. I'm the Executive Director of Institutional Outcomes Assessment at Excelsior College. So Excelsior College is a college which strives to provide an affordable education for historically underrepresented populations in higher education. I'm also a board member for the AALHE, and I lead our social media committee of the board. Feel free to send me questions in the Q&A for this, and also feel free to send me questions on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @J_Andre Foisy. And you can get to that by clicking my name in the presentation. So the session outcomes, I wouldn't be a good assessment person unless I had clear outcomes for this session. So by the end of the session today, you should be able to apply the basic vocabulary used in Twitter, and I have some resources for that I'll share with you. Identify the basic traits of a Twitter profile, and apply strategies to interact with other assessment professionals on Twitter. So there are really plenty of assessment techniques that you could incorporate in Twitter in the classroom if you are a teacher. Those are not things that we're really going to cover today. That could be a separate webinar. Really, the purpose of today's webinar is to make Twitter useful to you as a professional, to help you discover new ideas, to help you connect with colleagues and audiences and help to enhance your professional identity. And for me, Twitter has been really useful because it's helped me to find other assessment professionals. And for instance, last year at the AALHE conference, two of the presentations that I participated in, they emerged out of a connection that I made with those professionals on Twitter. So I think it's been really useful to me, and I expect that it will continue to be really useful. So first off, and this is not going to be entirely a PowerPoint presentation, I just have a few things that I wanted to cover. So why should you use Twitter? So there are really three main reasons why I think it's useful to assessment professionals. So it gives you the opportunity to make immediate connections with people that you might not otherwise connect with. So you could connect with people on real-time events. For instance, this might be useful to an assessment person because many institutions' budget funds are tight for professional development and conference attendance. So by participating in Twitter and finding the hashtag of those conferences that you're unable to attend, you can stay up to date on research and developments in the field. And for instance, last year, I wasn't able to make it to the Assessment Institute, but I followed along with a lot of the people who are tweeting about the presentations by using the hashtag, which was IndieAI17. Another reason why Twitter is really valuable is it enables you to have conversations with colleagues. So it's really focused on helping people develop new connections and to help you have conversations. So unlike Facebook, where it's primarily the conversations you have are with people who you already know, Twitter is really about helping you develop new connections. And the third reason is to help you expand your professional network. It's about developing new connection, so it helps you easily meet new people and see who your contacts are talking with. And if you haven't already got started on Twitter, and it sounds like a lot of you know about Twitter already, you can click this link, which will be available in the presentation. It'll give you clear instructions on how to sign up. It's fairly intuitive. Once you click that link, you'll create your account, and then you can start following users. So two really well-known users that I would suggest would be AALHE.org, and that's their user handle, or the niloa.web, and that's NILOA_web. And there's also some others. And I recently put together a blog post on some assessment leaders who are using Twitter effectively. So if you select this link, it'll take you to those 5 assessment leaders. And then moving on from there, I'm going to leave the PowerPoint and go to my Twitter account. So if we go to my Twitter account, just to give you an idea of what Twitter is. So it's a social networking website, and it's really focused on helping you make new connections. And it's about sharing what's going on in your world. So you can use it from your desktop, laptop, or your smartphone. I believe that most people use it from their smartphone. And the platforms are really similar across the smartphone, laptop, or desktop. I tend to use it primarily from my laptop or desktop, and I might be an anomaly. But essentially, it works the same way wherever you are. So what we're seeing right here is my Twitter timeline. So these are these are the posts of the people that I follow. I'm going to come back to this in one second, but I wanted to point out a document that I prepared for those of you who maybe are new to the Twitter vocabulary. I'm not going to go over this entire vocabulary list, but this will be included as an attachment with the PowerPoint from today's session. So some things in the Twitter vocabulary that are articulated here: hashtags, what is a user handle, how do you search, what is a search in Twitter, what is the reply symbol, things like that. Going back to my timeline, So every post on Twitter is called a tweet. And it used to be that tweets were limited to only 140 characters, but recently that has changed. So now users can post up to 280 characters, which is really useful, I think, for the people who like to post really verbose messages and emails on the assessment listserv. So this helps them to really make their message more concise. So the benefit of using short posts, it's easy to follow along with things that other people are doing. And you can see the reactions that people have as they come in. So if we see here, we can see some things that my colleagues, who most of them are related to assessment, have posted recently. And there are a number of different ways that you can look at your timeline, and I'll show you those in a little bit. So if we think about your profile, the way to get to your profile, and if you haven't already logged in, I suggest that you do that now. And click on your picture in the top right hand of the corner if you're on a desktop, and go to profile. Then I have a couple questions that have come in right now, and I just wanted to answer those since they're coming in. Is there a platform for Twitter for the iPad? I'm sure that there is. I'm sure it's very similar to what is on the desktop version, and you can download that from the Apple Store. And another question someone asked: how different is Twitter from LinkedIn? And I think they're quite different platforms, and it depends on how you operationalize those. LinkedIn is really more focused on helping people develop in their career, and Twitter is more like a conversation that you're having, and it could also help you develop in your career, but it's just a bit different approach. So if we look at the profile, we can see this is my Twitter handle, J_Andre Foisy. And those are things that you can change at any point, but I recommend that you keep them consistent because it makes it easier for people to find you. And the way that you would change those if you wanted to change it is you'd go into your settings and privacy and change your username there. And one thing that I see a lot of people who are active Twitter users do is they will include their Twitter handle in their email signatures. So this is something to consider if your profile is really outward facing. I'll talk about some privacy issues a little bit later. The next thing, if you're using Twitter for a professional purpose, you want to have some kind of professional looking shot. It could be a headshot, or it could be a cool picture of you presenting at a conference. And the way to change that would just be to go into your settings, it would be to go to this link that says Edit Profile, and then you could change your profile. You can change where you live. You can also add a description. So what I typically post about on my profile are things related to assessment and higher education. And I often will participate in or lead the AALHE chats. So by linking that in my profile, it allows people to quickly go to the conversations that are in those chats really easily. The next thing that you'll do once you set up your profile is pick people to follow. So if I go back to my timeline, if I scroll to the top, Twitter will suggest people for you to follow. Twitter will also suggest people for you to follow when you create an account. And many of those people might not be related to your professional career, but unfortunately there's no assessment tag that Twitter will suggest to people, but they will suggest people to follow related to higher education. And another way to find people to connect with that might be useful to you would be to go to this top right hand part of your screen, click View All, and you can see who might be useful to you. So the people that I see, I follow a couple politicians. So they're suggesting that they think that I want to see politicians. They think that I want to see some music people. But there are some people that could be useful. The Association of Community College, I could easily follow them, or I can add them to a list. And I'll show you how to use a list a little bit later. And then somebody asked me, if we're using Twitter for professional purposes, do we need to include a disclaimer from our employer? And I would, if you're using it for your work, for instance, if you're starting an assessment account that would maybe not represent your office for a university, I would check with your supervisor. I would check with maybe your HR office on policies related to that. A lot of institutions will have some sort of guidelines, but if it's your personal profile, I would expect that this would not be something that you need a disclaimer from your employee on. It's not something that I have used before. All right, so showing you how to pick people to follow. Another way for you to pick people to follow would be to go to the AALHE's profile, and you can just search for AALHE ORG, and then scroll to the profile. And then one way would be to see who the organization is following. So most of the people that we're following, probably all, are related to higher education assessment to some extent. So you might see some people that you know here, and if you do, you're welcome to follow them. It's not like invasive to follow people. Everything that they put up is public unless they have a private profile. So I really encourage you to follow people and start interacting in conversations. And there's a couple other ways that you can do this, and I'll show you in a little bit. The next thing I wanted to cover would be how to tweet. So if we go back to my timeline, there's this box up here that says what's happening. And so when I click in this box, this is really preparing you to tweet. So I will send a tweet out. I want to send this publicly, and I want to link it to anyone who's watching this webinar. And then I could use a hashtag AALHE webinar. And then I could also, if I wanted to send a notification out to the AALHE account, then I could just use this @ symbol and use that there. And I could possibly, since Catherine's on the call, I could also say, I could put Catherine on this. So I just click the @ symbol, find their profile, and then this button right here to the lower right-hand side of the screen, hit tweet, and then it sends it out. So what will happen, the AALHE, because I linked them in the tweet, will get a notification, and so will Catherine. And there's other things that you can do here as well. You could make your profiles a little bit more interesting by adding a photo. So you can use those, that would pull up your desktop wherever you're keeping your photos. You could include a GIF. And I'm going to send a post with a GIF right now. Hello. And then I'll use it. So if we go to GIF, I'll find a picture of an assessment professional, and I will post that. So that's a picture of Alf. I like Alf. So he's wearing something that I think most assessment professionals wear, and now this goes out. And Twitter can, since it's conversational, you can make posts fun, and I don't think it's something that most employers, if they were looking at your profile, would be scared of. Other things that you can post, you can have links. And Twitter is really nice that they will shorten your links if they're really long. So here's a link to our AALHE member spotlight. So this is our organization's Twitter account, has kind of a long address there. And I will say, have you seen the AALHE Spotlight feature? And then I'll post the link and then tweet it out. So then anyone who's following me will get this message, and they'll be able to see the link. Another thing I wanted to cover would be the retweet. So if I go down in my poll, Catherine says thanks, and I'm going to retweet that to my audience. And I'll also add a comment. I'll say, I'm glad that you love it. And then you can add an emoji to make it fun. I'll have a little smiley face, and then I'll tweet that. So that is one way that you can, so that's essentially how you tweet, how you retweet, how you include GIFs, images. You can also include polls. And that you just click there, you'd ask your question, then you have a few choices, and then whoever's following you could vote on that poll. I don't have a poll that I want to ask, so I'm not going to do that. But moving on. So another question that I got at the conference last year was, what is a hashtag and how are they useful? So this is really one of the nice features of Twitter. And the way to use a hashtag would just be go into your search box and to type that hashtag in. So if I want to search for anything for the AALHE Conf from this year or last year, I would just type this in, search, and then anything comes up related to the conference. So this is the top post. So that was Tara Rose. If I want to see the latest post, I can click this, and this will update in time. You can also see people who have posted, and it doesn't look like anyone is coming up. And you can also see photos that have included this hashtag. So it's a really nice way to connect with other people. And the reason why we didn't associate a year with the hashtag is because we wanted this hashtag to be continuous. So we wanted people from 2017 that were at the conference to connect with people from whoever's attending the conference in 2018. Another hashtag might be the AALHE chat. You just search for that, and then everything that is linked to the AALHE chats would come up. So we're seeing the top post first by default. If you change to latest, then you can watch the tweets come in a live stream. So that's one thing that I really like. If there's a conference that you were not able to attend, or that you wanted to look back on. So another popular assessment conference is the Assessment Institute. The hashtag for Assessment Institute was Indy AI 17. Search for that. And then you can see who is the latest post. You can also see who is there. You can see Natasha Jankowski was there. Catherine made a very nice public tweet. I could go back and like that, and she will get a notification that I liked it. So it's a nice thing. Another way to connect with people, and I realize we're going over 12:30, I won't be much longer, would be to use lists. So lists are really useful. The shortcut to get to a list would be to hit the G and the I button at the same time. And these are lists that I'm subscribed to. So I'm subscribed to a private list for higher education journalists. That's something I created. I have a list for the social media team that's created by the AALHE, and a list for the AALHE Conf, or the CONF, which is also created by the AALHE. So the way to subscribe to the benefit of these lists is it allows you to see a timeline of just people who are subscribed to that list. So if I click this button, the people that are on this list, this is something that the social media team created. Anyone who used that hashtag is on this list. And we really wanted to create this to help our members connect with each other. So I can see I'm on this list. So I posted, Catherine just posted, Tara posted 5 minutes ago. And then you can see Jennifer Morrow, Patricia Gregg. It's really nice. So these are just the people that were at the conference. And there will be more people on this list after the conference this year, because I anticipate that we'll have more people who will be tweeting. And if you would like to subscribe to this list, you would just go to the AALHE Twitter page, and that's AALHE.org. At the top right-hand side of the screen, they have lists. And they have 2 public lists. One is for the AALHE CONF, and one is for the social media team. So if I click on this, you go up to the top left-hand of the corner of the screen and click subscribe. And then you can easily retrieve this list so that you can start connecting with these people. And it kind of takes, you don't have to even follow them. So if there's someone that uses Twitter that you would like to know what they're saying and you don't want to follow them, you could create a list and add that person to the list and make it a private list. So that's something that I've done in the past as well. So I suggest that you subscribe to that AALHE CONF list as well as the social media team. So we have a few people who are leading our social media task force. And if you subscribe to this list, then you'll see what they're posting. And often the people that use this list are using this primarily to talk about assessment. And you'll just click on this subscribe button. When you go back to your home page, you can use that shortcut of hitting the G and the I button at the same time, or you can just go to your whatever this is called in the top right-hand side of the screen, hit your picture, go to lists, and then you can click on this list button. Great. Awesome. And then a few other things that I wanted to cover would be the direct messaging feature. So I've got 23 notifications. So people are mentioning me, liking me, or something. If I go over to this, Catherine Loves Elf, if I want to send her a direct message, and direct messages are really, they're kind of like private emails through the Twitter platform. And whatever you send to that person does not become public. So if I wanted to send her a message, a direct message, I would just click that button, the little envelope, find her name, and click next, and then you can send a message. Whoops. So it's the envelope, Catherine, next, and then say, I'll say, let's start an elf fan club. And you can add an emoji, a GIF, or a picture there as well. But she will be the only one that sees that. Well, that is if, as long as whoever has screen is showing is not leading a webinar. And those are some of the main things I wanted to go over. I also wanted to go over privacy. So you have the option of making your profile private. And to do that, you'll just click on your settings and privacy. So you go to your picture, settings and privacy. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the privacy and settings button. And then you can say, protect your tweets. So if you protect your tweets, then nobody can see what you're tweeting unless that person is approved as your follower. You'll have to approve them. So the benefit of this is if you're not sure if you're not sure you're ready to be public with your tweets, you can use this option. And it's a good way of kind of getting your toes in the water without being public. One thing I want to remind people, though, is that if you're using the AALHE assessment listserv, anything that you email to that listserv is public, technically. So this is really, it's no different than using the listserv. And so I really encourage you to make your posts public if possible. And then after you choose to make your tweets private, if that's your choice, you would just go to the Save Changes button. And then I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. And share this with you to go over some etiquette for Twitter. All right, you should be able to see my etiquette. So don't only tweet about yourself. It's good to tweet about other people, share what other people are doing. Be consistent. So if you post a few times a week, then that is much better than just posting once a year. So try to be consistent and try to engage with other people. Don't just advertise things to your followers. And if you're using this for professional purposes, make sure you use correct grammar and spelling. So limit the abbreviations that you use. One person just asked me, do you ever post anything non-assessment related? And that's a good question. I really see my Twitter profile that I've shared with you is primarily an extension of my professional identity. So I keep it very assessment focused, but you don't need to. It's just a matter of remembering that if you're sharing things that are not assessment focused, your followers might not care, and that's fine. I'm also a musician, and I have a separate account for anything that I post about music. And the reason I chose to do that was really because the people that know me as a musician, I really don't expect that they'll have much interest in my career as an assessment professional. And I don't think that the assessment professionals that follow me really want to know about what happens in my life as a musician. So that's why I chose to do that. So you could always have two different separate Twitter accounts if you chose. Another best practice, share photos. So this will help your posts get seen. Ask questions, respond to other people's questions, be supportive of other users, and when people mention you, make sure that you reply to them. And then lastly, I just wanted to go over the resources. So the Twitter vocabulary, this will be included with the materials from today's presentation. There's a link to a very clear tutorial on how to use Twitter as a professional, another link to Twitter etiquette, another link to getting started with the Twitter guide, and a link to the AALHE's webpage, which has information about the next AALHE chat. So this will be on Tuesday, May 1st from 3 to 4 Eastern Time, and we will be discussing why are we assessing. So the recent piece that came out that was signed by over 50 professionals and faculty members. And so right now I want to open this time up for any questions that people have.
So Andre, one of the questions that Patty had asked, and I don't know if you fully answered this one yet, but how is Twitter different from LinkedIn?
Well, that's a good question. I think Twitter it's more public. With LinkedIn, you can only see updates from the people that you are connected with, I believe. So that's a short answer. I feel like it's probably not fully answering the question, but that's the best that I can do.
Well, and in full transparency, you are doing another webinar in May on LinkedIn for assessment professionals, which will get advertised next week. So, so there is that opportunity coming up.
Yes, so I will reflect on that question and I will get back to you. But I know I feel like it's much more easy to create new connections on Twitter. You're not doing things like looking for endorsements from other people. You're just really trying to have a conversation.
And I think also that one of the things that tweeting does for, in that professional sense is, as you mentioned, when we're at conferences, we can share information for others who are not there. And I have also used it. I'll take a picture of somebody's slide that they're showing that I think is really important. And some of that is just to remind me of that slide later, because if I tweet it, I can always go back and find it.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And then other people can find it as well. So you're adding value to other professionals, and they tend to appreciate that.
Yes. Well, I think that we are out of time, and I think that as we have more questions on this, we look forward to seeing them on Twitter, and hopefully many of you will come to the AALHE Twitter chat on May 1st. And that is going to be, I think, a really interesting conversation, given all of the conversation around assessment and the uses of assessment. So let me end, Andre, by thanking you so very much for such an interactive and wonderful learning experience. And I'm with Tara Rose on this. I'm very glad that we are recording it, because I think that I need to go back and listen to some of these again and again so that I can improve my tweeting skills. So
that sounds
Andre,
great. Everyone, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is here, as well as my Twitter handle. If you follow the social media team on Twitter, you're also welcome to reach out to them. They are happy to help with any of your issues or questions.
And so I will be sending out an email with the link to the evaluation and the PowerPoint slides, so you can get all of the links that Andre provided and that handout on some Twitter vocabulary. And I hope to see all of you at our AALHE chat and at the next webinar, and most certainly at the AALHE conference that's going to be in Salt Lake City this summer. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of the day and a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks.